right, testing. Okay. Oh man. All right, what is up, you guys? This is my first attempt ever doing this. I also am so tired of social media. Is the reason why I want to switch to this, because I have spent so many of my money, of my time, of all of my things trying to get this message out to people in a way that doesn't feel like non-authentic, right? But like really this work to me is super important and super sacred to me. So like the last thing I will ever want to do is like diminish that, trying to keep up with like algorithm and trends. Again, I don't even want to talk about Instagram anymore because I hate it. So you know what, I'm just going to attempt to do this. I don't know what this is going to be like. I'm going to make these videos super raw. I'm going to not really like, you know, pause or edit or clip any of this. I am going to be coming prepared to these talks. But really, this is going to be time. I'm just going to like work out. I'm going to talk. I have a lot on my mind. But the purpose behind these videos is I really want them to help you. It's the main reason why I'm even doing these, because everything that I do with my clients and the work that I do, it seems like we all feel so alone in what we're feeling because no one's really talking about it, and nobody's really helping us to make sense of why these things are happening. So if this is your first time, you've never heard me speak before, or you've never have listened to me as I'm rambling right now, my name is Connor. I am a holistic coach that helps athletes and really anyone like looking to heal. And how I do that is very, again, multifaceted, right? So we're going to look at things like your nutrition. I'll talk about the nervous system a lot. I'll talk about your trauma. I'll talk about, honestly, the things nobody wants to talk about. And this is super uncomfortable for me because I'm in my freaking gym. You guys can't tell. I'm going to turn down the music. But it's super dark in here because every other lighting looks really weird. So again, two of my best friends are filmmakers, and they're also like encouraging me to step out of my comfort zone a little bit because I really am passionate about this. And I said, you know what? Well, let me just like put together some things that I really want to discuss, and I might work out a little bit. I don't know if I work out. I think that's going to help me like to stay regulated during this talk. So I think I might work out, but we'll see. But yeah, I wonder, you know, for the listener, if you're listening to this or watching this, I wonder where you're at right now. Like seriously, like where are you at? I'm not even talking about physically. Right, because you could be all over the world, but like where are you at, like in your body? Like how has everything been in your life? Like have you been so overwhelmed, so isolated, so confused, so lost, so lonely, and you're trying to figure out as to why? And you know, another thing I will talk about a lot in these videos, hopefully, is Jesus. It is the main reason why I do any of this work. And I hope right there that doesn't like immediately tell you to X out of this video, because I'm telling you right now, I want these videos to be a way that you're experiencing Jesus in a way you've never thought of. I grew up in the church, my wife is in ministry, and we have been burnt by the church, which I don't even like saying because everybody has their own version of what that means. But what I mean for me and my story is that it felt like everything that was happening in the church was not relating to anything I was going through. All right, so just that touch point on that a little bit. And sorry, my mind is already like so caught off guard. Give me 1 second, because I need to set a timer so I actually don't go like insanely crazy. Again, I told you guys this is going to be super like raw and uncut. I'm going to put my gym timer on. Let me see, I don't even know how to do it. Let's go, we'll go 26 minutes. I really do not want these to be longer than 30. I don't know how long we've been going for, but hopefully not longer than 6 minutes. Anyway, so my story, right? Like, sorry, 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so part of what I grew up in was a very like traumatic household. And in my early teenage years, I developed a lot of anxiety from that. and really no one had words for me. I would go to the doctors and they put me on like low doses of anxiety meds, and none of that made me feel better. And I'm like, man, like, I love Jesus. Jesus, why are you doing this to me? My pastors are like, you shouldn't be anxious. You need to trust God. Honestly, it was all BS to me. I'm like, bro, you don't even know what I'm going through. So anyway, that all led me to all of this work. I might share my story down the road more on these episodes, but today I really want to share what's kind of been on my heart. Well, I've been sharing with my clients a lot. So anyway, all that to say, I don't know where you're at. I don't know what you're feeling. I don't know what you're going through relationally. But I'm here to kind of bridge all the gaps, right? In our society, we tend to separate everything, right? Again, my background's in nutrition, exercise science, and in the last 5 years, I have dived deep into getting all of my education, one, from the Allender Center, but two, what's all underneath that and what encompasses it is the psychology, the theology, the neuroscience, about how does all these things go together? Like, what is God, or whatever you believe in, like, well, how are we supposed to live? Like, what is the answers to all these things? So that's what we're going to be going over today. Yeah, I'm going to get really uncomfortable. I want to move my body. I think that's going to like regulate me more. And I kind of wanted to hit chest a little bit. So I'm going to like rep out some reps. I'm going to cringe at myself later, but I don't really care. I'm going to attempt to talk while I do this. So the first thing I want to talk about is like your story, right? And what I mean by your story is like where and what has happened to you. Ignore where. I don't know why I said where. More so what. I think it's hard for me to multitask. I might have to stop benching. I might give you like pause for reflections so that I can work out. Anyway, but yeah, like what has happened to you, right? And that's a great title of a book that you should read. What Has Happened to You by Dr. Bruce Perry. And what I mean by that is like, what are the things that have happened to you that have led you to this point? And if you have never really engaged in your story, this is going to be a great place to start. Because from a nervous system standpoint, your nervous system has been molded from a very, very early age. And yes, we can talk about genetics. Yes, we can talk about all these other things. Whew, I'm out of breath already. But it's very important to understand your story and what has molded your nervous system, because I believe God has perfectly made your nervous system to work exactly how it's supposed to, but because there's sin and brokenness in this world, our nervous systems have malfunctioned, and they do not work in the ways that we need them to, which kind of opens the door for what we're going to talk about today. So the first thing we're going to go over is this idea called the window of tolerance, who was designed by Dan Siegel. So he's a neuroscientist, he's a psychiatrist, and really when we start to look at neuroscience, this is like the ABCs. Like this is one of the first things you'll learn about. And it's all around this idea of capacity. Okay, so I'm not the best drawer, but also, isn't this lamp dope? I don't know if you guys can see that lamp. It's also, again, it's super dark in here. I don't know if it won't look probably as dark to you guys, but that lamp, one, is dope looking, and two, it actually helps me to see everything. So the window of tolerance, again, is all about capacity. Okay, so there's my window. And what I mean by capacity is it's literally your ability to take on anything, right? Especially from a stress standpoint, right? So for you to like, engage in a hard conversation, for you to like have a good day and like be able to do good work, like have the energy and motivation to do stuff, right? We know motivation is fleeing, right? So it's like, how can we stay in this position where we feel a lot of capacity to engage just in like really what I believe, what we'll get into, the work that God's calling us to. If he's calling us to something, we literally do not have the capacity to do it because we're so drained by all these things that are happening to us. How are we ever going to even heal? How are we ever going to step into the things that God wants us to? So this idea of window of tolerance, right? There are things that shrink and there's things that expand our window, okay? So kind of looks like that, all right? This is an exercise I'll do with a lot of my clients. So on this side, like things like working out, journaling, eating good, lifestyle habits, like all these things that are going to expand my window, get it, expand my capacity, right? And then things over here, poor sleep, worrying, negative thought, like all these things can shrink my window, right? So again, if I'm really stressed, things are happening, just a lot is going on in my life, right? That's going to shrink my capacity to take on stuff, right? That's also why if you are easily triggered, most likely you have a really, really small window of tolerance, right? Your capacity is very, very little, right? That's like probably the easiest thing for you to notice is if you're easily triggered, you have zero capacity, okay? So why does this matter? This matters because, I just want to look at my notes real quick. Because you need capacity to survive. What I mean by that is, this is not just your capacity, this is the most important part. It's not just your capacity, it's the people's capacity in your life. For example, let's say you grew up in a household where you felt emotion, but you couldn't let it out because it's going to overwhelm your parents. I'm going to go over a bunch of scenarios because I don't want you guys to miss out on any of this, because this is our tendency. You'll be like, oh, like I'm not going to look at my past. My past is in the past. My life was great. That's great, bro, but listen, you grew up in a broken world. So let that just be said that no matter who has raised you, they are going to impact your nervous system. And this isn't about, please hear me out, this isn't about just blaming your parents at all. But what you have to understand is that your nervous system is not working according to how God designed it because of the brokenness that you've experienced. Whether it's from your parents, from your coaches, from the experiences, from your environment, your nervous system is chronically malfunctioning day to day, right? And that's going to look very different for every single person, but that's why we do the things that we do, right? So a crazy statistic, I'm going to be all over the place. A crazy statistic, whatever. I'm not cutting any of this out, so just bear with me. Is 80 to 90% of a normal human's day is spent in the limbic system. And if you have no idea what that means, there's 3 parts of your brain. There's the brainstem, the limbic system, and your prefrontal cortex. Well, we are made to be in the prefrontal cortex. That's where we think clearly. Like, we can rationalize. We can, like, do the things that we're, like, wanting to do that are going to bring us, more regulation. Well, that middle part of your brain and the brainstem, those 2 parts are your survival brain. Meaning they are operated out of your subconscious. Where does your subconscious grow? It grows in your adolescent years, in your story. So, if all of these situations happen for you growing up, that's where you start to develop how your brain responds to stress, right? It's like you'll go through all these stressful moments and then your brain is like, okay, this is how we're going to respond now, going forward for the rest of life. So anyway, go back to these occurrences, right? You're in your household, and let's say you have a single parent. They are working over and over again, and you're at home and you're going through a lot and you don't feel like you can let them in. Well, that is part of like your authenticity, right? If you had a perfect nervous system, you wouldn't need to worry about the person that is overwhelmed, if that's your mom or your dad, because they always have the capacity for you. Does that make sense? Like, their capacity is so much that it doesn't matter what you're going through, they can stand it. That's what we're made for. Like, literally to have this insane capacity to be able to like care and see and help this person regulate, which is also really important because everything that you need growing up stems around these core desires, right? Like you're needing to be seen, you're needing to be cared for, you're needing to be soothed, you're needing to be co-regulated. But what happens if you have a parent that doesn't have the capacity to do that, right? That would be like a child that's crying, a baby, and the parent is like, I don't have the capacity to hold them right now. what is that going to do to the baby? Literally, it's going to kill them. You know, there is research out there around kids that have not been held. There's literally studies, right, that in this orphanage where these kids didn't get held enough, they ended up dying or developed some kind of health or mental issue down the road. So this is so important. Like, this literally will impact your entire life for the rest of your life. So this is why it's so important, because what's happening in your present is not random at all. Not random. So again, capacity really, really matters. If your capacity is small, it's probably because you grew up in a household with somebody else's capacity that was really small, right? You had nobody to care and attune to you. And guys, to be honest, that's trauma, right? And I know we don't want to spend a lot of time in that, but we think, again, trauma is these big ordeal moments. And if you follow any of the work that I do, you will know that trauma is not the event. It is what happens inside of your body, inside of your nervous system, because of the event, right? So for example, if I go through something really stressful and nobody is there to offer me care, that moment will become very traumatic for me, right? What will my nervous system learn? Anytime we get into this stressful moment, we are going to go to this. Okay, so on to my next point. Hopefully you're tracking. I feel like I'm all over the place, but hopefully you're tracking. Plus, just maybe try to stay locked in. Okay, my next point. Your inner critic is soothing for your body. All right. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. All right, so yeah, this goes to the lie that your nervous system tells you, okay? I'm going to try to slow down a little bit. I might have to take a pause break and do some bench. I can't wait to watch this back. This is going to be so funny. All right, so the inner critic, let's say that you struggle with an unwanted behavior or sabotage, you don't like the way your body looks, or you're constantly critiquing yourself. Did you know that that's your body's way of protecting you? Okay, and I know you're probably like, what? How is that my body's way of protecting me? Okay, well, listen, your nervous system and your brain, which is all the same thing, kind of, is always trying to do one thing: keep you safe. So just think about every equation in your body is trying to add to that, all right? So let's say in these traumatic moments, you had a parent, again, that wasn't available to you. You spent most of your life here, right, in your head, because they just didn't engage with you. They didn't ask you deep questions. Everything was super surface level, right? So what does that mean for you? That means that your nervous system, when you felt stress, right, you felt a lot in your body, you found out, wow, nobody's going to care for me. So then your body has to make sense of that. Why doesn't anybody care for me? Oh, maybe nobody cares for me because I'm not enough. Maybe nobody cares for me because I'm not as good as X. Maybe nobody cares for me because I'm ugly. Maybe nobody cares about me because I'm fat. Whatever it might be for you in those moments, whatever you said, the vows that you make, really important. You will make a vow in these traumatic moments. And that vow, to be honest, your body has no idea if it's good or bad. It's just trying to make sense of it. In stress, your body always has to complete these loops, these stress cycles, right? It's how stress works, right? We go through something stressful. When we come out of it, your body has to somehow make sense of what just happened, right? And then it's going to continue to do that down the road. So again, if in these moments your body has learned that, hey, we're in this moment because no one is here for me, and no one is here for me because I'm not doing enough. Hopefully you're tracking. When you're stressed and life is not going well, that's what's going to come up in your mind, right? When your brain is dysregulated and we spend that time in the limbic, right, or the brain stem, that part of your brain doesn't know logic. It doesn't know good from bad. It only knows safety. It only knows survival, right? So when it's literally feeding you those thoughts, I know this sounds crazy, but those thoughts are to save you and to protect you, to not to have to experience again what you've experienced, right? So for example, a lot of people that have grown up in those kind of households will actually avoid people. Why? I'd rather avoid people than to ever experience what I've experienced before. Right? So I'm going to continue to tell myself, I'm alone, no one's here for me, I'm better off by myself. Right? So that I never have to experience the heartache of knowing what it's like to not have someone to have capacity for me. Right? That's what we're made for. We're made literally for someone to have capacity for us, to see us in a way that is so regulating for our bodies. For us to yell and scream and kick, and for the person to just get curious for us. Right? Say, hey, like, what's going on? Right? What's actually happening inside of you right now? Not in a contempt or a shameful way, right? But in a way that allows us the freedom, right, to actually feel what we need to feel. But someone has to have the capacity to do that. And most of our parents and our caregivers are so damn overwhelmed that they're never going to be able to do that for us. And that's what our whole childhood is like, which leaves us in the moment feeling so lonely and isolated, right? So what do we do with that? Well, we turn to Jesus, and that's why I'm going to turn to Scripture. Because I want to read you a story in the Bible about the woman at the well, right? So there's this woman, there's so much context that I want to give you. I do have a lot of time, so I think we're okay. I want to slow down a little bit. To give you context about this story, because it's really important. This story is about a woman who's a Samaritan woman, and just so you know, like, in the Bible times, different ethnicities and different demographics, like depending on who you were, like you could really like be an outcast, right? Like you are not allowed to be around these kind of people, right? So, I want you to just think of that as I'm describing this story, and think about like, those kinds of people that maybe come up to you, like people that you're uncomfortable with, people that like in society we shame, and I don't really have anything that's coming up for me. The only thing that's coming up for me is like racism, literally. So like just think about like we're in the 40s, and a person of color is literally like trying to, engage with a white person. Right, so this is kind of what this story is. That's probably a terrible example, but hopefully this helps. So this Samaritan woman is going up to a well where Jesus is already there. Okay, so Jesus has just finished preaching, and he's up at this well, and he asks this woman for her to get her some water. Okay, so again, paint the picture of if it was like I think it would be better if it was like the person of color asking like the white person for a drink of water. I don't know if that makes sense. But basically it would be against cultural norms. That's what I'm trying to say, right? And in this moment, this woman is kind of like awestruck, like, what, you're asking me? Like, you shouldn't even be asking me. So like, let's paint this into like actually a present scenario. Is imagine now going back to this trauma. If you have said, no one cares about me, no one loves me, no one is here for me, and then someone approaches you, literally approaches you and said, hey, I see you. I also see that you're the kind of person that you think that no one is there for you, but I see that. And that's kind of how Jesus is approaching this woman. So that's the first thing, right? He has the capacity to do that. He has literally the most capacity over every human in the world, right? So already this woman is like struck from that, right? And as this story goes on, Jesus is engaging with this woman and engaging with her in a way that's like he's bringing up her story and her past. He's literally saying like, hey, I know you have 5 husbands, and I know even the man that you're with right now isn't your husband, right? And in that way, she's like, oh, dang, like, who are you? Like, how do you know these things about me? But what I want you to notice is that Jesus doesn't leave. Like, you gotta take context. And I also feel like the analogy that I gave was terrible, but it was the only thing that was coming up for me. Like, understand context here. Like, Jesus should not be interacting with this person on the basis of like cultural norms. Obviously, Jesus doesn't care about any cultural norms, but that's really important. You need to understand that, because in her head, In our world today, that would be like the outcast, the person that's like, has like suicidal thoughts, and you might think, oh, I'm weird. Why would anybody want to engage with me? Right? And this is like very, very common, right? It's like, I'm crazy. There's so much wrong with me. Nobody wants to be with me. But here Jesus is literally engaging with this woman. Just like, imagine you being this woman. Like, he's engaging with you. Like, hey, I see you fully. I see all of what you struggled with. I've seen all of what you have gone through. I know what it was like for you to be in that room by yourself, crying alone, and then telling yourself that no one's ever going to come for me. I see that. And I see how that's led you into being on this isolated road for your entire life, trying to figure out, to make sense of your life. Like, this is what Jesus is saying in this moment. And he had the capacity just to be there with the woman. Right? And in that moment, you can see, like, after, like, she goes into the town and she's, like, so happy. Like, she was, like, the first time someone has, like, seen me and knows what I have done. Right? And she's saying that in a way that is, like, blowing her mind. So, again, that is, like, the invitation to come back to this idea of capacity, is that capacity is everything. Like, it's literally all that we need in life. And to like getting even deeper, this is going to be the thing that we chase. I think this is really interesting. Nobody really talks about this. But we are always chasing something, right? What is my job? Who do I want to be with? Who are what are the things I want to do? I want to become this kind of athlete. Whatever it might be for you. But really what you're chasing is something that can like hold you. And I know that sounds weird, but like think about the capacity standpoint. If I become an elite level athlete, if I reach this goal, if I just get the job, if I just get the relationship, I will feel better. Why? Because finally I'll have something that I can rest in. But what do we know about all of those things? Even our relationships, none of that is ever going to fully embrace what our bodies need. Never. So the first thing to understand is like, that is like the worst heartbreak of all time, is that our parents literally could never fulfill us. But our nervous systems came into this world primed to look at them in a way that we expected them to do that. Right? And since they're broken and all of our nervous systems are so malfunctioned, we will experience a kind of care that doesn't encapsulate all of us, right? And we still feel so empty inside. So what are we longing for, right? It's like why we idolize these things, because we're longing for this thing to soothe me, right? We're longing for, like, if I just get this, then it will regulate my body, then I will feel better. But that's the lie. That is literally the lie. Like, none of these ways of thinking are ever going to bring you exactly what you need. Right? So what does? Like, what allows us to even feel like we have the capacity to, like, live in this world? Well, I need to do a set because my mind is going crazy and I want to do more bench. So take the time to reflect, I guess, because oh my goodness, I got to move this whiteboard. This can give me time to think too. Oh. Oh yeah, thoughts are coming. Good thoughts are coming. If anyone watches this, I'm gonna be impressed. This is one of the worst talks I've ever given. Oh, it's okay though. I don't care. It has to get out there. All right. So think about this for a second on the capacity standpoint. If you're a Christian and you're a believer, you know this. What is the greatest commandment? To love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul. Second greatest commandment, to love your neighbor as yourself. How the hell are you going to do that if you have no capacity? Literally. And we're talking about literally like loving your neighbor as yourself. And there's this idea of like loving your Lord, your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul. We literally only love God with our mind. That's it. right? Most of us know, yeah, God loves me, and I can read all the scripture verses, but why the hell do you keep doing the same things over and over and over and over and over and over again? Is because your soul and your body have no idea what it's like to have someone in an earthly body with a capacity that can withstand you. So what do you do with that? Well, it's an invitation to grieve, first off, right? Because if we look, and this is my favorite thing to talk about, and I will maybe use a whole talk on this next time when I have time, is what did Jesus do before the greatest calling of his life? Before he died on the cross, he grieved. Why did he grieve? Oh, I don't know. Maybe to have the capacity to even take on the cross. To allow his physical body to die, right? To literally, because what is love? Love, the greatest form of love is to lay your own life down for another. So in his mind, he is literally dying to his physical body and his spiritual body as he's grieving, so that he can go die for you and me, to have the capacity to do that. So what does that look like for us? What it looks like is, how can we die to our fleshly desires, the things, the vows that we made in our traumatic experiences of like, I'm so alone, I'm this. No. How can we understand that God has not made us for that? Right? Yes, our experience has really prompted that in us of like, hey, we're all by ourselves. No one's ever going to be there for us. But all the answers are in Scripture. It literally says what our nervous systems are made for, what our bodies are made for, what we are made for. That doesn't line up. So what does that look like to reach back to here where we have so much capacity, is to die to these things, to show them, to expose them, to allow somebody in so you can actually experience the care that you need. Right? And no one person is going to do this. Right? This is why community in the body of Christ is so important. But we have to understand that, like, here on this earth, that's time. I'm not going to stop though. Here on this earth, we are never going to fully experience what it's like to have a perfect nervous system. We're not. But our goal, while we're on this earth, is to get enough capacity from engaging in our trauma, right? From all of the things that keep and shrink our capacity and all of our lifestyle things. Yes, poor nutrition. Yes, poor sleep. It's to engage in those things to give us more capacity to do what? The greatest things that God has called us to love him with all our heart, all our mind and soul, so that we can then love our neighbor as ourselves. That's our calling. That's all you need to worry about. I think the last thing I wanted to say was, like, you look at the disciples. If they were probably living their life to the fullest of what God wanted them to do, what ended up happening to them? They all freaking died. They all died. They died for Jesus. They died sharing the gospel. They died loving their neighbor as themselves, showing people Jesus. They didn't care about their bench press or their freaking workouts, which I want to do a whole talk on that. Like, we worry about the stupidest things in this earth. God is literally saying this is all that you need to do. So everything that you're doing in your life, if it's not leading you to loving people or even loving yourself in a way that is bringing people closer to him, you're joking yourself. And that doesn't mean quit everything and go do ministry. It doesn't mean that. Because then you're abandoning your truest calling, which is, one, your relationship to Jesus. If you're married, it's your relationship to your wife. It's your relationship to your kids. That is your calling. Is to allow yourself to become the person God is calling you to do, so you can love them well, and then that's going to transform the world. Right? Mother Teresa said this: if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. Right? So it's like, guys, like, this is so important. Most of us feel so broken inside because our capacity is just like not there, because we've never experienced like goodness. So to experience that goodness is for you to step into all of these hard things, all of these things that you're probably not aware of. Like, this is the first talk, but you need to go and watch all my other videos, because it's going to help you to understand what is the first step. The first step is awareness. You've got to become aware of these parts of your nervous system that you're never supposed to feel. These random health issues, these random anxieties that you have, like your OCD, your style of relating that you think is normal. Like, you think your independence is like, oh, I'm strong, and it's not. It's BS, right? Like, I have like, you know, two of the best athletes in the world behind me. Both of them are insanely unhealthy, addicted to gambling, doesn't show up for his family in a way that was healthy. You can go read about it. Strippers, money, gambling, like, why? It's never enough. They made it. It was never enough. All right, so if you want to go be an elite athlete, I'll tell you all that you need to be to do an elite athlete. Sell your soul. Literally, that's what you want to do. Sell your soul to it. Go do it. To be honest, that's easy. That's comfortable. I can do 1,000 burpees right now, and I would love it. I love going to the pain cave. Why? Because I grew up in a traumatic household. It's not hard for me. What's hard is, can you go and start to engage with your shame? Literally, go engage with your shame, because that's the hardest thing you could ever do. Engage with the things that aren't like Jesus in your life, because that is what you're called to do. And if you don't believe in Jesus, I get that. I want to talk to you, and we can have a deeper conversation. But please, if you're an athlete, if that's your goal, great. Well, you're going to die very empty inside, right? And you're going to live here on this earth very empty inside. Right? I'm not saying you can't go play your sport and become a professional athlete, but if it's with the intent that you think that's going to make you feel better at the end of the day, it is not. It is not. I have literally had 10 life crises where I said, oh yeah, I'll get to college, it'll be better. Oh, I get in this relationship, it'll be better. Oh, I get my dream job, it'll be better. I've gotten all of it. Guess what? None of it is completely regulated me in a way that has like fulfilled my soul. Right? Because that's not what our nervous systems were made for. They were made for a God that had the capacity to love and care for us. I need to work out. So I hope that helps. I feel like I maybe went over everything I wanted to. Yeah, I don't know. I was going to say something about Wemby in the finals. If you're watching the NBA right now, Wemby just had this interview where he was like, this is all I want. This is my purpose in my life. And I'm just like, bro, like, there's so many athletes that are watching that are like, oh, like, that's what I want to do. Like, I'm going to go to NBA finals and I'm going to feel better. Like, that is the saddest life, in my opinion, the saddest life. And if you're a Christian athlete and you think, oh, I just have to get to my goal so then I can, like, I want to use the stage to glorify God. No. You glorify God now. And if he gets you there, great. But, like, if that's your whole role and what you think that is going to allow you to glorify God is by getting to this big stage, then you're literally joking yourself. Go engage in your shame. Go engage in the things that do not make you like Jesus now, so that you can step into all that he has for you. And that might not ever look like playing on the biggest stage in your life. Okay? All right, done. All right, my rant is over. I feel like that's enough. I'm going to call it because I don't want these videos to be too long. All right, I'm not editing this. Put in the comments, like, questions, like actual topics you can go over, because I feel like this was so random. I could prepare whatever questions you might have. Again, we're talking like pornography, addiction, chronic pain, nutrition problems, you not losing weight. Like, I don't want to get into a lot of that. I just want to help you to understand like the depths of it. I don't want to have any surface level conversations on here. But if you're struggling with something, like really, really struggling with something, like, put it on here. Put it into the comments. Give me ideas. Like, I want this to be a place, one, this is like very fun for me. Also very exposing. I'm sweating my butt off. It's so dark in here. I got to figure out the lighting. But yeah, put what you want in the comments or whatever. And I have a lot more coming up. We got a podcast coming up. I'll tell you about that maybe in further episodes, which will be kind of like that, but I want this to be different. But yeah, if you got any questions, please put them in the comments, message me, find me on Instagram, it's my name. Boom. See you guys.